Well, welcome. Thanks for tuning in this episode. I'm coming to the end of a journey in the series of 6 paintings I've been working on. And it started with the one just up behind me here with the couple dancing. And as I've gone through the dance, something's happened. And now we're just watching me paint the lady on her own. And this particular one I decided to do in pastel pencils. And I'm just going to be watching it over here. Occasionally I'll turn to you, but I'll be watching it over here. And yeah, that's how it started, and everything looks so good. An older gentleman, and I wasn't sure, was he her dad? Was he her granddad? I wasn't sure what their relationship was. He could have been some other significant other, but they were in a great dance trance. And I'll bring up some other photos as we go through this session of doing the final one in the series. But first I'm going to have a coffee. So the pastel pencils. I've got a love-hate relationship with pastel pencils. I love them for the detail that you can get from them. And the hate bit is that they make me go in all tight in the painting. I mean, my eyesight actually isn't this bad. Just throw that in there, because it looks like I'm almost in the painting, but what I'm actually in is in the moment. And when I'm painting, you switch out of this world into that world, and it's quite a remarkable experience. But the pastel pencils, in this one, the background I've done in pan pastels, your clothing I'll do in pan pastels, get that nice looseness. And yeah, there they go. That was the second one in the series. And she seems fine there. She was fine. Lots of green I'm adding. I'm looking for the colours from the background to bring in, and when I see, I don't call this drawing. For many they'd go, well, it's a pencil and you draw with a pencil, right? But the medium is pastel. The pastel just happens to be encased in wood, and which makes it very nice for being able to do these layers with. But you could do the same if you had hard pastel and just with very sharp edges, but it would be more time consuming. It was just a little bit of golden shadow from her earring on her neck, and I decided to capture that as well. And it was kind of she'd been dancing in the sun, so there was quite a lot of heat in her face, and yet in this particular moment of grief, where she's holding back the tears, or maybe she's not even holding them back. I needed some cool colours in there as well, but to get the light upon her, and still a lot of red in her skin. Just watching myself do it. I don't mind using, some will just use a very limited pencil palette. It might be red, blue, green, some yellow, white and black, and they'll do their entire drawing working with those shades. But I'm like, I bought this pencil set and there's like 75 pencils in it. I'm not gonna just not use them. I bought the set. I'm gonna bring them all out as I see the colour. And I do see a lot of green when I'm looking at a photo. And I'm looking at skin. And the thing about art is your brain starts processing light and colour and shapes differently, because you're now looking for those shapes and those colours and the light. But in our normal life, just as we're looking at people, our brain just goes, oh yep, that's Donna, or that's David, and that's all it needs to know. It's like, oh yeah, that's the person I know. And it stops looking for all the details, because now we're concentrating on what they're saying, or what they're not saying, or their body language. And but when it's quiet and you're painting, and they're stationary, particularly if you're working off a reference photo, it's probably quite different if you've got your subject in the studio and you're painting them live. Well, it's a static moment, and so you can look beyond everything else and find what's happening under their skin, what's being reflected. And I've done a bit of exaggeration, I guess, and I mean, my art is a representation of what I see. It's not a photocopy. So the representation, I saw her grief, and so as she's got that expression and pulling back, there's all the wrinkles in her neck, and they probably weren't that pronounced in the photo, but that's how I felt the painting, so I just wanted to bring them out a bit more. There you go. Things are still looking good in the painting, in the dance. That particular painting actually came out quite well. Dare I say it myself. I was really over here from doing this series. There was so much here to try and keep it the same all the way through. That was quite a trip in my artistic journey. And I tend to use, if I'm doing dark or grey here, I have no problem bringing out my blues. I've got a great selection of different tones, shades of blue, and they just work really well. I saw a fantastic video a couple of years ago. A pastelist was doing a cat, black cat, and she was hardly using black at all in her painting. It was all just different shades of blue. And as she's doing the video, she says, just trust me, it'll come right, you'll start to see. And sure enough, of course that reminded me of when I was quite young. We are going back some years now. I was probably 17 or 18 at the time, and I got my hair dyed black, absolutely jet black, and under fluorescent light, it was absolutely blue. I forgot to get my eyebrows done at the same time, so I looked particularly weird. These days I just wish I had the hair still. Oh well, what can you do? We all suffer loss. So, for here I go, starting to get back into the blues, for the light shining on her hair. And then it was just a case of trying to find the correct light on her skin. And we've got another picture in the series coming up. This one, she's thinking about something he's said as they're dancing. And it was when I saw this photo, I thought, oh, I've got to tell that story. And went looking for the rest of the photos in the series. That looks like French grey I'm using there. Classic Derwent pencil. Derwent's are lovely, beautiful to use, and they're like a little trip to hell when it comes to sharpen them. They're just a nightmare. Whereas the good old Carbothellos, they don't seem to break in the sharpener like the Derwents do for me. Of course, some don't use sharpeners at all and just use a knife to sharpen up their pencils. But I prefer a classic sharpener. It just works for me. And eventually I found one which was great. I went through a whole range of them, little hand ones, and then a sort of desk-mounted one, and that seems to do the trick. I suppose eventually it'll go blunt. So, and of course, when you're using things like normal pastels, pastel sticks break all the time as well. It's an incredibly fragile medium to work in, and like, I suppose with oils or acrylics it'd be quite upsetting if your paint's dried out, but if you were to pick up the tube and it was to suddenly split in half, well, that would be a moment, wouldn't it? Well, that's what pastels can be like, and you're like, oh well, I guess that just gives me a different edge to use while I'm painting. And so with the pastel pencils, I'm always just trying to use the edge of the tip. I'm not using the point. Here we go. Oh, ring that bike bell. So here we're starting to come together by now, and I was less depressed with it. This particular painting, actually, I found quite difficult to do. It was the last in the series, and I put it off for a couple of weeks. Partly because I knew the end of the journey was coming, and maybe you've felt that when you've been away on a trip in those last couple of days, and you're like, oh it's coming to an end. especially when you're saying goodbye to someone as well. But for me with art as well, to paint something, I have to feel a connection with it, which is why I tend to paint people a lot, rather than landscapes, or animals. I mean, I like animals, so, I love cats. Not really a dog person, or I think dogs don't really like me as a person, something like that. Anyway, to paint an animal, I don't actually, it's a mechanical task for me, it's technical. I'm just going to, I'm going to be doing a lot of hair, or fur, and that doesn't really fill me with joy. But a person, there's all this emotion going on if you can capture a moment and be in that moment with them. And she was really having a moment. And I knew that as I'd do the painting, I would be connecting with her in that moment and feel that sadness as well. So I was a little cautious about doing it and trying to do justice for her. I think that's an umber that I'm using from Derwent there. As much as I hate sharpening them, I do love using them. I think they're a bit underrated. And probably because they break so often and artists get fed up with it. If they fix that, that would be a real fantastic thing. And we've got another one in the series coming up. This one, she was confronting him about what he had said. And she came out looking a little angry. I didn't quite get that eye right. It's a shame. I tried going back to fix it, but eventually it was like, just move on. It was, and at that stage, my wife didn't really want me to put those paintings up in the house anymore. Because she was now angry at this guy for having upset the young lady. And that's great, isn't it? Because art really, I think, when it's really art, it elicits a response. And some people do art to shock. Some do it to amuse. Some do it and they're just clever. And that's the sense I get. I go, wow, that's really clever. That's really talented. They've got some skill there. Others do it to tell a story. There's something of themselves they want to bring out. I think I'm looking for something maybe a bit romantic, a bit old-fashioned. I'm looking to... that's why I love dancing, because people are in the moment. It's not just the music that they're dancing to. They're dancing to the beat of the life of the person they're with. And I'm not a dancer myself, but I certainly appreciate seeing it and painting it. There's looking forward to later this year. There's a tango exhibition in the city near where I live, and I'm hoping to go and get some photos there and watch the dances and understand it a bit more. Hopefully I'll get some permission from the dancers to do paintings of them. That's a General's chalk pencil there. Fantastic, best whites I've ever found. The General's range. And I'm just running over it with a Pitt pencil to tone it back because it was just way too white. But for bright whites, General's are the one to get. At least that's what I found. Just a beautiful, pure white. And yes, I just tone them all back. In pastels, you're looking for layers to get that effect. It's lots of little colour put together that makes up the painting. It's not broad brush strokes in pastel. It's tiny marks. There's my touch of turquoise coming in. I love that colour, and been trying to find a way to add it to every piece of work that I do. Don't mind me, I'm just going to have some coffee. Right, so that was her pretty much complete. Just the final clothing to do, and then I'll just run through the series of photos once more to give you the story as I saw it, and credit to the photographer who managed to capture that scene. So she was quite sad at the end, and I've tried to capture that with dignity, and it's not one that I'd put on my wall, but I think they're a great series. And these particular photos, absolutely fine. I think I found them on Unsplash was probably the site that I found them on. It's either Unsplash or Pixabay, and they're fine for practicing on or doing demo work for, but it's very unclear if the models have signed a release form and are happy for you to make money out of their moment and their private moment in life. So it's not one that I'd ever sell. It was this was all sort of part of my learning journey in pastels, trying to discover the subjects that I wanted to paint, as well as how I want to paint. Do I want to be someone who's looking for sort of a realism with pencils, or do I want something that's a bit more impressionistic? So it's just a representation of what's happening. And it's probably a bit of both. I think this particular painting was somewhere in the late 70s, in the sense of when I started doing these about, let's see, it must be 3 years ago. I started doing pastel, and my goal was to do 100 paintings. And so this would be like 78 or 79 in the series. Possibly in the 80s. I stopped counting after a while, because I felt like I'd actually achieved the level where I wanted to, where I could be a bit more commercial, move out of the apprenticeship, become a journeyman, and start selling my art, which is the goal for 2024. So when those pieces start coming online, I'll let you know if anyone's interested in collecting pastels from me, what will be available for sale. So we're coming to a rapid conclusion. Thank you for watching me sit here in nearly 30 degrees, drinking my coffee, narrating this video to you. I appreciate you may have fallen asleep to the sound of my voice, in which case my job here is done. Fantastic. It is a longer video. I just wanted to give her justice and the series justice. So let's have a look at the final painting. There it is. Moment of grief. And we'll just work our way backwards, back to the happy start. And that's where it started. So thanks to the photographer, and thank you for watching.